It is August 28th, 2006. We're doing a short weekly report for you here today. We want to thank you all for tuning in and joining us. In 9/11 news, there's a popular rock band based out of England that's in the top 10 of the charts right now here in the United States. They are the band Muse. And the Sunday Mail of the UK, as well as the BBC, are both reporting right now that the band Muse, their lead singer, wore a T-shirt that said Terror Storm on the front of it and was live on the BBC nationwide in many areas of Europe, one of the biggest music festivals of the year with 80,000 people. And when they asked what Terror Storm meant, he said, go to Google Video, type in Terror Storm, and you'll find a nice little surprise. It will shed some light on world affairs. Put it that way, I'd rather point you in the direction than preach about it myself, is what he told NME magazine and the BBC. And then he told the Sunday Mail that he believes 9/11 is an inside job and gave reasons for it. Every week, more prominent people, scientists, scholars, doctors, former high-level members of the federal government, of the executive branch, go public. And we also have Hollywood people speaking out. We have more and more musicians speaking out. We have new professors and scientists really every day. Also in 9/11 news, a major professor in New Hampshire is saying that he believes 9/11 is an inside job. And a tenured professor of psychology at the University of New Hampshire believes an elite group within the federal government orchestrated the September 11th attacks on America. William Woodward, who I'm interviewing tomorrow on my radio show, has already raised the possibility in his classroom, and later this year hopes to teach a class that would explore September 11th in psychological terms and, of course, covering government involvement. And he lays all that out. And now members of the U.S. Senate are calling to restrict his free speech and comparing it to Holocaust denial, calling for banning free speech here in the United States. That's why it's dangerous to start banning things in Europe and Canada like Holocaust denial. Whether you believe that 10 million Jews died or 5 million or 1 million, we know Hitler was pretty darn bad and did kill a lot of people. A lot of them were Jews. Regardless, I will fight to the death for someone's right to say no Jews died or 1 billion Jews died. Now, both of those are lies. We know Jews died. We know that 1 billion didn't die. There weren't 1 billion Jews in the world. But it is their right to say it. I do agree that criminal elements of the government carried out 9/11, and I'm really concerned that I've been called a member of Al-Qaeda now by national TV and radio. I am really upset now that people have called for my arrest and execution publicly. But that's not going to stop us from what we do here. We're winning the fight for this republic. And yes, national talk show hosts, major publications have called me a traitor. They've said I should be shot. They've said I'm probably with Al-Qaeda. Let me just get something straight here with you. I don't own billions of dollars of stock in the Carlyle Group with the bin Laden family. I don't vacation with them, as the Wall Street Journal reported. The Bushes do. I didn't fly the bin Ladens out of the country on the day after 9/11. The government did. I am not the one creating the Mujahideen in Afghanistan and giving them $6 billion in CIA money. I'm not the one in Senate reports in '99 with our own government arming the KLA, Kosovo Liberation Army, to attack Serbia like our government did. And so that's just the facts. We're not with Al-Qaeda. The government is Al-Qaeda, Al-CIA. So professors, 911 theories, outraged New Hampshire leaders. More good news there as people go public. That came out today. More good news. This is a giant whitewash, but still it's a big step. There have been protests out front the Gray Lady, known as the New York Times, in the last few years. It has been all over scientific journals and in other prestigious magazines and periodicals that they've done the scans and the biopsies of the lungs of firefighters and police. They are literally filled with mercury. They're also filled with different types of radioactive particles, and they are filled, that I mentioned, with asbestos. You ask, why was there any radioactive particles? Some of the parts that are in computers and are in other machinery when tons of them are destroyed, literally tons of these devices being imploded and being broken into tiny little bits and aerosolized. The people breathe that. The tens of thousands of smoke detectors, many of them have mercury in them. The tens of thousands of thermostats had mercury in them. And it was just a horrible toxic cloud. The buildings were built and jacketed, the columns, with the fire retardant asbestos, as were many of the walls were made up and the insulation of asbestos. And most of the police dogs have died of lung cancer or nasal cancer. There are literally thousands of firefighters and police that have now already died or who are off the force. Healthy men and women who can't even walk now. And the New York Times has finally been forced to report on this. The EPA originally went out there with testing equipment and picked up unbelievable particulates. It says here in the United States Geological Survey did studies, so did the EPA, and they found that that the air was filled with highly alkaline material that was as strong as drain cleaner. And the tests they quote here were 4 months after. Let me just read it. EPA whistleblower says U.S. hid 9/11 dust danger. A senior scientist of the Environmental Protection Agency has accused the agency of relying on misleading data about the health hazards of World Trade Center dust. The scientist, who has been sharply critical of the agency in the past, claimed in a letter to members of the New York congressional delegation this week that test reports in 0203, see, the whistleblowers are starting to go public 5 years after because of guilt, distorted the alkalinity. Now notice how they spin that. You read the reports, it's asbestos and mercury, or pH level of the dust released when Twin Towers collapsed, downplaying its danger. I mean, any fool knows. Look at those giant plumes of smoke and debris. We know that's toxic. Some doctors suspect the highly alkaline nature of the dust contributed to a variety of ailments. Suspect? They've got the CAT scans and the biopsies. Test of gray-brown dust conducted by scientists, United States Geological Survey, a few months after the attack, found the dust was highly alkaline, in some instances as caustic or corrosive as drain cleaner, and capable of causing serious irritation and burns. It's part of the public record those buildings were built out of asbestos. So here is the New York Times today, after all the years that we have talked about this. What does this say about the system? That they could have at least given treatment to the police and the firemen. They could have said, we've got a rush-in breathing apparatus, but that didn't happen for several days until independent people noticed it. By the way, I didn't tell people to give to charity on the days after 9/11. That is classic Red Cross, United Way, that steal the money and use it for anti-gun organizations and for pro-UN border destruction systems. Of course, I got ridiculed, and then it all came out that exactly what I said was true. We just have seen them in the past do it. I did have my listeners mail to several of the local churches there thousands of paper masks, and I'm told that from our listeners, hundreds of full gas masks. So we immediately said those clouds were toxic, and we immediately did something that actually counted. I know you sent money to the Red Cross so they could give money to Handgun Control Incorporated, and you're mad at me now that I've just told you were scammed. You don't want to know you were scammed. You want to keep getting scammed. I understand. And I'm not saying we're great or special that we did this. We just really tried to help people, and we're on record doing that. See, we're involved in the real world. We're informed on the facts. We're not experts on Vince Young and football. We're experts on the real world, on things that really matter. You could be just as informed as we are. You're just as smart as we are. Okay, it's just you're tuned into stuff that doesn't matter. We're tuned into things that do. Washington Post doesn't answer why no bin Laden 9/11 indictment. The Washington Post has really had to run a hit piece against those of us that are exposing the fact that bin Laden's not on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, that the FBI has given public speeches and released documents saying that there's no evidence that Osama bin Laden was involved in 9/11. I know you've all seen the Fat bin Laden. That tape's now admitted to be fake, though it was never really announced to people here in the U.S. Voice print was done, and it wasn't bin Laden's voice. The same system that lets you do your voice code recognition. It's the same system you can test voices with. And of course, they also did a scan of the face, and it wasn't bin Laden. Of course, it wasn't. But they've done a big whitewash piece that really doesn't even give any substance or disprove anything we've said. And of course, we also point out there was never an indictment issued against bin Laden, though there was an indictment issued for the Tanzania bombings there in Africa. So there is your 9/11 news for the day. This is 9/11 news that just came out in the last day and a half or so. Here's some other news for you. This is out of Reuters. Switch off TV and switch on your memory. Reuters, turning off television, picking up a crossword and eating more fish could be the key to a better memory, an Australian survey has found. And there's a bunch of other studies I've seen over the years that watching large amounts of television is detrimental to your long-term and short-term memory, and is also connected to elderly who become Alzheimer's victims, who develop Alzheimer's. That's because as long as the